Sentence. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. I hope you're all doing really well. My name is Hannah and I'm an author from the south of England. Today I'm going to be talking about the upcoming Mark Stay novel, The Crowfolk. And just to warn you, I'm most likely going to be gushing about this novel and Mark throughout this entire video. As always, this review will be totally spoiler free. I absolutely recommend you check out this novel. I will not be dropping any spoilers throughout this video. Just before we get into it, as mentioned in my previous video, I have finally launched my newsletter and it would mean the world to me if you could subscribe. And I don't want to give anything away, but there is a quite exciting, quite juicy giveaway coming up in a few weeks' time. And if you are subscribed to my newsletter, you are automatically entered. The link to subscribe to my newsletter is down below, and details of the giveaway will be going out to my subscriber list in the next few weeks. The Crowfolk is a fantasy, folklore, horror, adventure story set in 1940s Kent. It is Mark Stay's fourth novel. He also has Robot Overlords, which I think is middle grade. He also has Back to Reality, which is like a sci-fi time travel adventure. And he also has The End of Magic, which until reading The Crowfolk was my favourite one of his novels. The Crowfolk follows 17-year-old Faye Bright as she wrestles the loss of her mother, who died when she was really young. So she doesn't really have very many memories of her mum. Most of the memories she has have been informed by her dad, who is also a main character, and he owns the local pub. Early on in the novel, we're introduced to the idea that Faye is constantly kind of wrestling this idea of really wanting to know more about her mum, but also blissfully unaware of her mum. So yeah, we have that conflict very early on. Faye then finds an old journal that was her mother's, and it is full of what looks to be spells, bell-ringing patterns, and now an accidentally famous jam roly-poly recipe. For any of my friends out there that are not British, jam roly-poly is, it's hard to explain, but it's a really, really warming, wintry dessert, and I have linked the recipe in the description below. You should, check it out if you want to try something new. Once Faye finds her mother's book, weird things start to happen. There is magic, there are many scarecrows and pumpkins, a fair amount of threat, but still so much heart. The whole novel is honestly really heartwarming. All of the characters are incredibly colourful and very different, which makes for a really great cast of characters. And as I said in my written review, which is also linked down below if you want to check it out, there are plenty of dad jokes. I would expect nothing less from Mark Stay. So what are my favourite things about this novel? Number one, the characters. I think doing these reviews has shown me how much of a character-led reader I am. Any novel that's got really good characters and really colourful characters, I'm almost instantly going to enjoy. Faye, our main character, is a wonderful character. She is bright, inquisitive, quite often gets in trouble because she, kind of talks herself into situations that she probably shouldn't find herself in. She's also a really entertaining character to read, and I think very early on the reader definitely wants what is best for her. Her dad is also a great character. He is very caring and kind, though he does try to hide it a little bit. He definitely wants what is best for his daughter, and therefore as a reader I want what is best for him. There are also a couple of older characters in this novel, a couple of older ladies who I don't want to say too much about, because I don't want to give anything away, but they are very entertaining, they're very funny, and they're quite caricature-like, so their sort of character is quite exaggerated and blown up, but I really like that about them. My second favourite thing about the Crowfolk is the folklore element. I'm quite new to folklore and folk horror. James Brogden I got into last year. His stuff was probably some of the first folk horror stuff I'd read, and whilst his writing is much more horror-led, Mark's is more heartwarming, but there's still an element of threat there and he balances it really, really well. My third favourite thing is the humour. This absolutely has to be maybe even my first favourite thing. These five are in no particular order, but maybe the humour is my favourite thing. Think Terry Pratchett meets Douglas Adams with a bit of Studio Ghibli thrown in, and that's pretty much how The Crowfolk made me feel. There are tons of dad jokes, lots of sort of the bumbling British kind of humour that makes me think of Terry Pratchett, and loads of the whimsy that makes me think of Ghibli. My fourth favourite thing is the dialogue. I often think that dialogue can really make or break a novel, and Mark Stay's dialogue is funny, but it feels real and heartwarming still, quite often sarcastic, which goes hand in hand with the bumbling British sort of sense of humour, and I really think he did a great job. My fifth favourite thing about The Crowfolk is the setting. So this novel is set in a small village in Kent called Woodville, and it's set in World War II. And what I loved most about these two things was the subtlety of the setting. So it definitely felt very small town, it felt very cosy. There were a couple of local pubs, but you know, you went to the right one because Faye's dad owned the right one. And it felt very community driven in that element. There were obviously mentions of air raids, the volunteer service, the bell ringers. There's loads that just made the whole situation and the setting feel really full and really vibrant, but also not in your face. I also think the World War II elements gave the story a really interesting backdrop, whilst in no way dominating the story. So in a review, this would normally be the part where I would talk about the negatives or the things I felt could have been better about the novel. But I'll be honest, I don't really know that I feel there was anything in this novel I would have done any differently, or I would have liked to have seen any differently. I can potentially see how the very, very British sense of humour might not land for every reader, but for me personally, I'm from Kent. The dad jokes are 100% things my dad would say, so it really resonated with me. I would 100% recommend this novel. I cannot give it anything but a 5-star. I don't normally give books stars, but yeah, recently I have, and all of them have been really good. So either I'm just getting way better at choosing books I want to read, or all of the books are just really, really good recently. I would potentially say The Crowfolk is maybe my favourite Mark Stay novel now. It's really close between that and The End of Magic, because The End of Magic is just so wonderful. But yeah, it might just pip it. I did say at the beginning of this year as well that I'm struggling to, well, I've always struggled to read fantasy. It's never really been a genre that I have considered myself a die-hard fan of, but this was technically fantasy and I really, really enjoyed it. So I think maybe I just need to open up my horizons a bit. I absolutely recommend this book to pretty much anyone really. It crosses over genres, it's got fantasy elements, there are a few horror elements, lots of adventure elements, but it's also really, really heartwarming and just a really nice escape. I've linked a few different places down below where you can buy Mark's book, as well as his website and his YouTube channel, which you should definitely check out because he is very funny. And I believe he is having a book launch on the 4th of February, which I will also link down below. I will definitely be going there, so if you happen to be there, I'll see you in the comments. If you're also a podcast fan, Mark co-hosts a really well-known podcast actually called The Bestseller Experiment, also with another guy called Mark. If you've not listened to that, then definitely check it out. I've also done a full review of The Crowfolk on my website, which I will link down below, and I swear, I promise that is the last link I will talk about. All of the links are in the description below. Go and check them all out. So The Crowfolk has been my first 5-star read of 2021. I'm currently reading another book that I think, if it keeps going the way it's going, that will also be a 5-star. I think I'm on just like a enjoy what I read high right now, and I'm really hoping I don't hit a book I don't like, because I think it will just ruin it. That's it for today's video. I really hope you enjoyed it. I hope you found this review really helpful. As mentioned earlier, I absolutely recommend you check out this book, and let me know if you do, because I'd love to chat to you about it. If you did enjoy this video, please do feel free to like it, and of course subscribe to my channel, and I will see you later with another one. Bye!